Morning, everyone. Welcome to the Getting Started with TradesStation series. Today, we're going to highlight the TradesStation desktop, which is the flagship product of TradesStation Securities. My name is Jesus Nava. I'm the Director of Client Training and Education for TradesStation Securities. And for me, it's always a pleasure to join you guys and talk a little bit about our technology and how you can do your analysis and do your trading on our trading platforms. So welcome today. Let's go ahead and get this session started. Before we do so, the usual disclosures. Just keep in mind that every symbol and idea that I talk about is for educational purposes only. These are not recommendations of TradesStation. Also, active trading is not suitable for everyone, and it should only be done with risk capital. And past historical performance is no guarantee of future results. Let's keep those risks in mind when we trade. And if you need a little bit of additional information on these disclosures, go to www.tradestation.com/important-information. Thank you, everyone, for being here and taking time out of your schedules to learn about TradesStation. I'm going to switch over to my TradesStation platform, and let's take a look at some of the functionality here. All right. This is the TradesStation Today workspace. The TradesStation Today workspace comes up the first time that you open up the TradesStation desktop. Sometimes you may, lose sight of where it is after a few times you open up TradesStation. But if you ever want to come back to TradesStation Today, just go to the apps menu and click on the TS Today button here at the very top. A few things that I like here on TradesStation Today is this section right here. I think my call outs are a little bit too thick, so let me go ahead and change that. All right, so we have a featured video right here on the left-hand side. If you notice up in here into the drop down, we have an introduction to the desktop, which is a very high-level overview of where to find things on TradesStation in about 7 minutes. And we have an introduction to OptionStation Pro, which is about the same length. But if you're just getting started, these are very nice videos to get you up and running very quickly. Right here inside of the TradesStation Today workspace, we have our social posts. Anytime that TradesStation posts, it'll be reflected here. Although I'm looking at the date here, and it seems like the TS Today workspace has not been updated in a while. In fact, if I look at the dates here for events, it seems like we have to do some upkeeping here on the TS Today workspace. But this is also an area where you can find upcoming events. So in addition to having the events posted on the TradesStation website, we also have them here. So it's a very quick and convenient way of seeing what's upcoming right from within the TradesStation platform. You also have access to what's new. Sometimes if you get prompted to update TradesStation, which happens automatically, whenever our engineers release a new version of TradesStation, at the time that you log on, you're walked through this update. So there's no really an option for you to apply it or not. But if you want to know what did you just apply, you can come here and see exactly what's new on that update. You also have access to recommended workspaces. A lot of times, when I open up my TradesStation desktop, I like to start from scratch. A lot of times, if you're an active trader, you're probably going to want to create your own setups. Maybe you're already used to seeing things a certain way, like having the charts in a particular shape and area. So if that's the case, then it makes sense to start your workspaces from scratch. Just make sure that you're saving those workspaces so that TradesStation knows where they are, what they look like, and it'll open right back up. But if you're looking for ideas on how to set up the TradesStation apps, you can use any of those workspaces as a starting point, as a template, and then make modifications and save it as a file of your own. So feel free to do so. All right, I'm going to open up a new TradesStation workspace by clicking on this little plus at the bottom. So that's a quick way for me to open up a new workspace. As you can see right there, it says untitled workspace, just because I haven't saved it. So this is like starting from scratch. A lot of times, my drawing tool hotkeys, the ones that I'm pressing to draw on the screen, interfere with TradesStation, and I get some errors as you just saw. All right. Philip says that his what's happening window, it's blank. I'm not sure if the plugin was broken because as you noticed, some of the what's happening posts on my side were like from 28 days ago. TradeStation posts, once or even twice a day. So the fact that I saw mine not updated in 28 days was a red flag. So maybe that's what's happening, Philip. Maybe the plugin is broken or disconnected. We're gonna have our team take a look at that and see if it's refreshed. All right. But on this new workspace, if you want to know which applications you have access to within the TradeStation platform, go to the apps menu. The apps menu may be a little bit overwhelming for those of you that are opening up TradeStation for the first time, because there's a lot of applications that you can choose from. For this class, we're just going to concentrate on maybe 2 or 3 of the applications that are here because of time constraints. And I'm just going to show you the ones that are mostly used. For starters, let's go ahead and open up a chart analysis right here. Anytime that you need a chart inside of TradeStation, just go to apps and click on chart analysis. It'll open up a chart. There's no limit to the number of chart windows that you can open inside of TradeStation. I suppose that the only thing that will limit you is your computer's resources. So it gets to a point that if you open up too many TradeStation applications, then if you see your computer running sluggish, it's because you've probably hit that point where you have to cut back a little. But TradeStation is a very efficient software. When I talk about reaching that level of sluggishness, I'm talking about maybe having hundreds of applications open simultaneously. So it is a very robust software, and you're going to enjoy its power if you've downloaded it and installed it on your computers. By the way, I guess this is a good time to tell you that we have 3 different trading platforms. The one that I'm showing right now is the one that you download and install. This is the most robust one, is the one that has all the bells and whistles that you're looking for as a trader. We have a simplified version of TradeStation, which is web-based, which you're welcome to use as well. How do you access that? You go to tradestation.com, the website, and you click on login and access the web trading platform. And then we have on the third spot, not because it's because it's in any order of importance, but on the third spot we have the mobile app. So you can use TradeStation on a mobile device. iOS, Android are both supported. So whichever type of phone you have, you'll have the ability to access your TradeStation platform within your phones. The experience, though, on each one of these platforms is going to be slightly different. But again, if you're looking for that robust software with all the power and the engine that allows you to do real-time scanning, then the desktop is your friend here. So that's the one we're going to talk about today. And I do this explanation on all the different platforms because a lot of times we get comments from attendees that say, well, my platform doesn't look like yours. And it may be because you are on maybe the web trading platform, which is different than the desktop. So wanted to clarify that just to make sure that we're all on the same page. Now, I did say that you can open up here as many chart analysis windows as you can. So let me go ahead and go here and go to apps and open up 3 charts. All right, 3 charts on the screen. I'm going to go here to the window menu and arrange vertically. We have these very quick arranging functionality, which allows me to, see all my 3 charts organized in an equal space on my workspace. Now, I may link these 3 windows together by symbol. Let me show you how that's done. But before I do that, this is the chart here on the left-hand side is set to daily. The one here on the middle, which I'm clicking on to activate it, I'm going to go to the time frame here and make it a 60-minute. And then I'm going to click here on this one on the right and make it a 5-minute. So we have daily, 60, and 5-minute all on this symbol, which is the one that opened up. TradeStation has this memory that it knows what symbol you were looking at before you shut down. And whenever you open up TradeStation, it'll default to that symbol. So yesterday when I was looking at ES, and I was doing some analysis on ES, and all of a sudden I opened up my TradeStation today, and TradeStation remembered that I was using ES, and it just pulls it up. So I have a daily, 60-minute, and 5-minute. Now the linking buttons are up here. I can click on the S on each one of these windows, and notice that they're all turned green. meaning that if I click on any of these chart windows and I change the symbol, it should change on all three windows simultaneously. Let's go ahead and take a look at, for example, Bank of America. The symbol is BAC. I notice that I'm typing it in. So I want you guys to see the command line right here. I didn't have to click anywhere to pull up the command line. It pulls up automatically as soon as you start, pressing keys on your keyboard. So give that a try in your TradesStation because you're going to find that very convenient. You can do a lot of things with the command line and type up commands that have an effect on the TradesStation charts, like changing the symbol. I type in BAC, I hit enter, and then have all my three windows update to that symbol. So window linking is going to be your best friend, especially if you're working with multiple charts across single workspaces or across multiple workspaces. So it's something that I want you guys to try. You may also link by interval. So let me remove here or turn off the symbol linking. Let's say that I have Bank of America on the left-hand side. I'm going to change the middle to Microsoft, and I'm going to change here the far right to Intel. You can also look at the same time frames. The I right here on the top allows you to link by interval. Notice that all the three charts, Intel, Microsoft, and Bank of America, are all set to daily. I'm not sure if you guys remember, but I had daily on the left, 60 minutes in the middle, and 5 minutes on the right, and now they're all the same because I've linked them by interval. This allows you to have multiple symbols and just be able to change the time frame one time and have it applied to all your charts. So if I want to see weekly charts, I'm going to type in the word weekly. Again, I'm using the command line. Take a look here in the middle of my screen. The command line pops up. You can see that I'm typing the word weekly and I hit the enter key. And then I see all my charts change to weekly. Pretty cool, huh? Now, if I want to go back to a minute time frame and see what the securities are doing this morning, I'm going to type in 5 space MIN. So the way that you bring up an intraday chart is by typing the minute interval space MIN, short for minute. If you want to do seconds, you can also do SEC for seconds. Up to you. We have second charts available too. But changing the time frame on one changes the time frame on all of them. You can see how these technology stocks, Microsoft and Intel, had a gap up in the morning. Very clear. A gap that we don't see here in Bank of America. So something's happening probably in the technology sector, but I'm just opening up the charts this morning, so I'm not really sure what's going on. But you can see the big jump here for Microsoft. Microsoft is up 7% from the close of yesterday. All right. Oh, earnings last night. Thank you, Amin. Excellent. Thank you for that note. All right. So wanted to give you a little bit of window linking tips and organization, because a lot of times this is going to be a time saver. You don't have to, resize each window individually. Also, make sure to save the workspace. Once you've set up the workspace you want, right click on the tab, which I found to be the fastest way to access the saving features, and save the workspace. I'm going to save this workspace as my 3 charts. Okay, now you can see the tab is named 3 charts, and I'm going to open up a new one. In here, I'm going to open up a new chart. By the way, any workspace that is open is updating in the background and giving you real-time updates. So whichever analysis techniques, if I apply any analysis techniques to those 3 charts and I turn alerts on, the fact that it's open, even if it's not visible, allows me to receive alerts on those workspaces as well. All right. This is a chart of Intel. All your drawing tools are going to be right here on the drawing menu. One drawing tool that I like to talk about is the horizontal line. Right now, Intel is trading at $29.43. We can see that yesterday it dipped below 29, which kind of a significant price from historical bars in history. Now, today we are on an up bar. In fact, Intel is up almost 2%. It's kind of retraced from its high today a little bit. So I may want to set up an alert and say, well, if Intel drops again to 29, maybe that's an area that I want to be paying attention to and maybe get alerted if that's the case. So a quick way for you to get alerted right here at 29 would be to draw a horizontal line. I click horizontal line, and the way that I draw horizontal lines is usually by clicking on the background and holding my mouse button. I click and hold because I want to have a little bit more precision as to where I want my horizontal line to be dropped at. I'm going to click here and hold it, and then you see a little data window or data tips window where you can see the price. And then as I move the horizontal line up and down, that price is going to update, which allows me to have a little bit of precision as to where I want that line. And I want it right at 29. I'm going to drop it there, and you can see that my line has a little label here on the right-hand side. I believe I've changed my defaults. I think the default color for horizontal lines is yellow, and the text here is a little small. Those are things that you can change. By the way, I mean, TradesStation is a highly customizable platform, and I want you guys to use those features to make the platform look and feel like you want it to be. I mean, this is your own personal trading platform. So I'm going to double click on the horizontal line. That's the way that you access the settings. And here you can change the style, which I've changed, the thickness, the transparency. You can change the labels and change the font. I've made my font a little bit bigger and bolder. Just make sure that you set those settings as default. There's a checkbox here so that anytime you draw a line, it will be exactly the way you want. But what I wanted to show you here is how do I get alerted if the price touches 29? Well, you have to go to the alerts tab and enable the alert. That's all you need to do. Now, of course, you have these bullet points and radio buttons and configure buttons to modify the alert settings. There's always going to be some default settings like a ding and a pop-up window, but you can change those. If you want to have your own siren go off and have a customizable pop-up window, you can just click configure and set up your alert that way. But once I put a check here on enable alert and click OK, that's it. My horizontal line is hot, and as soon as the price activity touches 29, I should be alerted. This gives me the flexibility of maybe opening up another workspace and start doing some other work. I mean, the workspace is still open. I'm still going to be receiving that alert because I've set it up on that particular chart. Okay. Ronnie is asking, how do you save studies so you don't have to add to every chart each time? Good question, Ronnie. So let's go ahead and take a look at that. Let me go back here to my Intel chart and let me add a couple studies. I'm going to go to studies, add studies, and then let me just add my moving average, 2 lines. And I'm also going to add, I'm going to hold down the control key so I can add multiple studies at the same time. I'm also going to add the RSI. Okay, so just 2 studies, moving averages and RSI. I click OK, and the 2 studies, well, not yet. I'm sent here to the formatting buttons. Okay, so now I have my moving averages and I have my RSI. If these are studies that you always want to be present on the chart, and you don't have to, and you don't want to add them every single time, you have to save them into a study. Let me go here to studies, and you have an option here that says save study group. Now we have some built-in study groups. We have, I'm not sure if these are built in because I may have created some of these. We have an ADX and moving average 2 line. We have a moving average 2 lines on volume. RSI stochastic. It doesn't seem like it has a moving average and an RSI, so I'm going to create it. And the way that I create it is, give it a new name. I'm going to say moving. Let me abbreviate it. Moving AVG, MOV, VA, AVG, 2 lines, and RSI. Because those are the studies that are currently selected. You can see them right here on the right-hand side. And I can set this little checkbox to on that says automatically add on new chart analysis windows. If I click OK now, I'm all set. So if I go here to this brand new workspace that I started, just a moment ago, and I go to apps and I click on chart analysis, then it should pull up the chart analysis with the studies already applied. If this is something that you want to happen on your charting, then do this because it'll save you some time. You don't have to add them every single time. If you're always looking at moving averages and you're always looking at RSI, then make them the default so that they're always populated. I can go here back to studies and edit study groups because now see right here automatically add into new chart analysis windows is a drop down, and I set mine to none so that I have a blank screen. So I'm going to set that back to none. Okay. Perfect. So now I have a few technical analysis here on my chart. And technical analysis work very similarly when it comes to formatting. Let me just specify where you can double click on any of the lines and access the formatting of the lines. So if you don't like the blue or the magenta or the cyan and you want to change the colors, or more importantly, if you want to change the parameters, I didn't have to supply parameters because every technical study in TradesStation has some default parameters. And on the two-line moving averages, the parameters are 9 and 18. So the averages are for 9 periods and 18 periods. If I want to change that, if I want to do like a 50 against 100, I'm going to have to double click on the lines and change the fast and the slow length. So the fast is going to be 50 and the slow is going to be 100. If I click OK, then it changes the calculation of the moving averages. We saw how quickly that happened. But at the same time, I can use different parameters inside of my moving averages. Now it's using 50 and 100, and I can set up an alert here. Let me double click on the lines, go to the alerts tab, and enable the alert. Very similar to how we did it on a drawing mode. Again, we have a way of modifying how we want to be alerted. I'm going to be alerting once per bar because that'll avoid getting continuous alerts, especially if you have an alert that is always true on every single tick. So you really don't want to have that behavior on TradesStation because your platform could get hung up trying to generate hundreds of alerts at the same time, especially if you have multiple symbols, triggering the alert simultaneously. So alert once per bar means that it looks at it looks at the time frame of the chart. Right now, my chart is set to daily. So I would get an alert every single day, or the potential to get an alert every single day. But as soon as I click OK, the alert is set up. And as soon as those two lines cross, I should be alerted. Alert criteria is going to be inside of easy language. I assume that the alert of the moving averages is when they cross. But if you want to have a clear indication of what the alert is, right click on the indicator and you have access to editing the easy language for the moving average two lines. If this is the first time that you hear about easy language, it's not going to be the last. Easy language is a proprietary language, programming language inside of TradesStation that allows you to not only customize the indicators that comes applied with TradesStation, but also create your own. If I go to easy language here, I don't have to modify the code here for the moving averages because it's already created for me, but I can review the code and I can see the alert criteria. And this is true for every study. So if you want to check the alert criteria for the RSI or the Bollinger Band, open up the study and look for the alert criteria. And we can see that the alert criteria is the fast average crossing over the slow average. And we have the alert. And we have the other side, if the fast average crosses under slow average. So whenever the two lines cross, that's when we get an alert on that moving average, okay? Wanted to give you that side note so that you're aware that anything can be customized in TradesStation. So the same for the RSI, you double click on its lines and then you can change the inputs, the alerts, the style, whatever is it that you want to change about the study. I'm double clicking on the lines because I just like that shortcut. If you want to go through the menus, you go to studies and then click on edit studies. You get to this dialog, so you have to choose the study that you want to edit, and then you click on customize. So to avoid having to go through all these menus, what I do is I just double click on the line and it takes me to that dialog directly, okay? Customize the indicator. If you miss the line, if you double click on the background, it's going to take you to a different place. Just be mindful. And if you see customize window and you wanted to customize the indicator, it's because you double clicked on the wrong place. Okay. All right. So let's go ahead and take a look. All right. So I can go on to something different. Maybe show you some scanning capabilities. Let's see. Let me open up Radar Screen. Radar Screen is the application that works as a watch list, and it does much more than that. I like very much, the much more than that the Radar Screen does for traders, because it's one of the main windows that allows you to scan the symbol universe and find opportunities that you're looking for. Let me go ahead and click on Radar Screen. It is blank as you first open it, which is no problem. We're going to fill it up in just a moment. Here in the data tab, or the data menu at the top, we have some prepackaged list of symbols that you find under Add Symbol List. We have the S&P 500, the NASDAQ 100, and the Dow Jones Industrial Average. If you're looking for other prepackaged list of symbols, just go to Other Symbol Lists, and you're going to find lists, under industry groups. You're going to find index components. A lot of things are happening here under Other Symbol Lists. So go there and explore. For now, I'm going to do the NASDAQ 100. Take a look. I just added 100 symbols into my Radar Screen because of that list. All right. I can modify my layout here. Let me bring in my Radar Screen a little bit here from the right, just dragging the edge. And I'm going to open up a chart analysis, because how cool would it be for me to click on a symbol here and have the chart update to that symbol, right? So let me go ahead and resize my chart, grab it by the corner, click on this linking button, the S, and the linking button over here. And let's see, I want to take a look at AMD. I click it, and then my chart loads to AMD. Very convenient. So make sure that you're using window linking to look at your analysis. So here on the Radar Screen, there are a few columns that I don't want to use, or that I don't want to see. There's a default list of columns that you have, but you can add and remove columns as you please. So the bid, ask, high, and low are columns that I don't use in my Radar Screen. So I'm going to click and drag so that it highlights the 4 columns, and I'm going to press the delete key on the keyboard, and it removes them. If you want to add columns, just click on the plus here, which is Add Study, or you can go to Studies and Add Studies. It's exactly the same. This little plus here at the very end is just a quick way to access the Add Study dialog. All right, let me show you one thing on Radar Screen, which is going to at least give you an explanation of what this interval column is for right here. See, the interval column is something that comes up in Radar Screen, and we make it one of the default columns because we don't want you to miss what that interval means. So let me start by adding volume here. Volume average. I'm going to add the volume average study. Volume average is something that I would see on a chart most of the time because it just gives me the average. In fact, let me go ahead and add it here. But at the same time, I'm going to add it here on the chart. Studies, add studies. Let me go to volume average. Okay, so that's the volume average right here at the bottom of the screen. You can see that it's just a histogram of volume, but that yellow line gives you the average volume for, in this case, this is AMD. But look at the volume average right here inside my Radar Screen. It doesn't quite seem like it's the volume numbers that are run on this particular symbol. For example, AMD is trading currently 17 million shares, but on average it trades 58 million. That's information that I can gather right here from the chart. If I look at the AMD values here for the average, I have 200,000 for the current value, and an average of almost 600,000. So what are these values, and why are they so different than the regular volume, which is 17 million? The reason for this is because we're looking at intraday volume based on a 5-minute time frame. So yes, the 242,000 shares is the current volume for the current 5-minute bar. So it doesn't include any historical volume just the current bar. So if I go over here to this chart and I change the time frame to 5 minute, then this volume over here in blue, the 293 or 95, matches the one over here. If I say blue, that's red, right? So this number matches this number because now I'm looking at two similar things, a 5-minute radar screen and a 5-minute charting. So this is, I'm just explaining this because this is one of the things that sets radar screen apart from any other scanning tool out there. The radar screen combines the feature of having a watch list and a list of hundreds of symbols with charting capability. So by adding this volume average study right here into my radar screen, this is like creating 100 chart analysis windows at the same time. It's that capability of the radar screen, which gives you charting capabilities in a spreadsheet format. It saves time, it's very powerful, and you can look at hundreds of symbols at the same time. Pretty cool feature. But the best feature is actually what you can do with alerts, because by scanning on technical ideas, you can pretty much scan hundreds of symbols and find the ones that are meeting the criteria at a particular moment. Let me show you an example. Let me right click here on volume average right here on my radar screen. And I'm going to edit the volume average for all symbols. I'm going to go to the alerts and enable the alert. And I'm going to say alert continuously, but I'm going to disable messaging center. So this none means that I don't get any sounds or any pop-up messages, which is the way that I want my alerts in radar screen. I don't want to have to deal with hundreds of pop-up messages at the same time. So here, if you look at, let's see if I can, not what I wanted to do, but yeah, it always comes up. Okay. All right, so let's see. If you look at this right here, this is what's called a real-time alert, that red marker right there on the screen, which you can see all across the radar screen. Those are real-time alerts. Now, if I click on this one right here, AMAT, this is applied materials. I'm going to click it. I'll look at the chart. And if you look at the current bar, you can see that the volume has exceeded the average by a certain percentage. Now, that's pretty cool to know. You have an average, and whenever you have higher than usual activity, volume average is the type of study that can identify those opportunities. What's happening to applied materials right now? I'm not really sure, but it's showing more volume than its average. Right now, the current volume is 86,000 shares, and the average is 42,000 shares. Of course, you're going to see that behavior very frequently at the beginning and at the end of the day, because volume, spikes up, and there's higher concentration of volume at the beginning of the day and at the end of the day. But throughout the day, if you want to be notified whenever there's, these volume characteristics that are higher than the average, that is an alert that you can set up. Not only that, I'm just looking at the time here on my TradesStation, because the new bar just opened up. So you can see how the red alert changed to a darker red. Whenever you see that change, the difference in color, I've told engineers that is not very, very, very obvious. I would have, liked for that color to be different, because in my eyes it's still red, but it's not as bright as when it was real time. That's what it is. So you can see that these two are darker, and this one is bright red. So this one, CEG, which is Constellation Energy Group, if I click it, you can see that the current volume has exceeded the average already, and we're still in the first minute of that 5-minute bar. So that's what I'm trying to get to. You can get these indications of out of the ordinary activity, and it's a good way to filter the symbols. Now, over here at the top of my radar screen, I can set some scanning or dynamic scanning, so that you don't have to scroll up and down to find the symbols that meet the criteria. So let's go over here, and In this drop down, I'm going to select volume, and I'm going to set the alert to true. So out of the 100 symbols that are on the NASDAQ 100, CEG is the only one that has traded more than the average. Now, of course, we're still in the we're still in the second minute of this 5-minute bar. How do I know that we're in the second minute of this 5-minute bar? Because I'm looking at the time of TradesStation, and it's almost going to reach the 10:37 time. It just did. So now we just completed the 2 minutes on that 5-minute bar. But the nice thing about setting up your radar screen this way is that if there's any other symbol as it approaches the close of this bar that is trading more than the average, is going to be automatically visible right here on the left-hand side. So we're going to leave it there for a moment to see if any symbols make the criteria. All right. I don't see that many questions coming through, so I'm going to assume that to a certain extent, the information here is clear. We can see another symbol show up, Zoom Technologies, Zoom Video Communications. We can see how the current bar has traded more than the average. So this is what I was trying to show you. You know that as soon as there is a new symbol that meets the criteria, you'll see it up here. And by having this filter applied at the top, you've turned your radar screen into a dynamic scanning tool that only shows securities that are giving you this alert. I can do the same thing with the moving averages, but let me do that right here. I'm going to go to Studies, Add Studies. Let's look for moving average 2-line. It goes right here on the screen. By the way, those are crossing right now. The Zoom is also crossing on those moving averages, which is interesting. So we have another symbol here. You see, as it approaches the end of the bar, so we're almost, at 3 minutes and 40 seconds, almost at 4 minutes into the bar, we can see more symbols coming into the list that are, meeting the criteria or exceeding the volume by a certain percentage. So in our example, let's go and look for stocks that are crossing on the moving averages. So here on my radar screen, I'm going to click on that plus again to add another column. And I'm going to go here to moving averages 2-line. Let's move it down. All right. And the same way that I did on the volume, I'm going to right click, go to Studies, edit the moving average 2-line for all symbols, and enable the alert. Disable message center, and I don't need, pop-up messages or any sounds. And in here, I'm just going to disable this filter. And well, let me go ahead and enable it again. I have a little checkbox here, but instead of using the volume average, I'm going to use the moving averages. Alert true. So now we get these alerts, but I'm going to change this scanning to daily bars, because if you guys notice, we're still looking at a 5-minute time frame. So this is the moving averages that are crossing on a 5-minute. If I want to do the moving averages on a daily calculation, I'm going to change the time frame on the chart to daily. All right, and here the way that I change the time frame for all symbols is by highlighting the symbol column right here. Notice that it's all highlighted. I just clicked on the header once, and I can go to time frame and set these to daily. You can see that now everything says daily. Now, there we go. So now my radar screen has had a chance to calculate all the 100 symbols based on the volume, on the moving averages. And we can see that out of the 100, we have 12 symbols that are crossing at the moment. We have Palo Alto. You can see that crossover right there. We have PayPal crossing right now. It's always, great to see that on a chart as well, Yeah, there's a crossover here for PayPal, but the prices have been trading sort of sideways for some time. And we get a lot of that, back and forth crossing on those moving averages because of that price movement. It's not a clear trend. Now, is this going to be a clear trend? Well, we can see how this current bar is pushing lower than the low prices that happened, a few weeks back. So I don't know, maybe something to watch. But we have a bearish crossover on these moving averages. So it's always recommended to look at a chart because it gives you a bigger picture of what's going on. Let's see. We have CGen. All right, so here we have on the daily chart, those two moving averages are crossing. It's a bearish signal. Again, we see a lot of sideways movement in the past few weeks. So is that a clear indication that the trend is going to change? I don't know. Something to watch. Okay, so the idea here is that you can take any technical concept, any technical idea or calculation, and turn it into a scan and allow TradesStation to show you, okay, these are the symbols that are meeting this criteria. These are the symbols that are triggering your alert. Maybe you should add them to a watch list and watch them, right? Okay, so we get a basic question here from Ronnie. I'm finding it difficult to move around in an open chart. I've tried clicking on the black area of a chart and move around within the chart and nothing happens. Also have tried to click on a bar and move and still nothing happens. Yeah, the moving or maneuvering the chart. Let me go here to one where I have a chart open. If you click, and this is just to give everyone, tips on how to get around the chart. If you click on one of the candles, you have the ability to move the chart left and right. Notice what's happening here. I'm just clicking on a candle and moving it left and right. If I try to move up and down, it doesn't go, but it does move left and right. If you do on the background and you try to move around and click and hold, nothing happens. Nothing happens if you click on the background and move it around. It's designed for you to move the axis along the bars and be able to get this data tips window with details on the bars. So it's not designed for you to drag the background. If you really want to move the chart up and down, all you need to do is come here to the price scale and squeeze it a little bit. You can either squeeze it by moving it down or expand it by moving it up. I just mean moving it a little bit. So you can see that if I click and drag up, it'll expand the price scale. If I click and drag down, it'll squeeze the price scale. Once you do that, the chart has been detached from its axis, and now I can click on a candle and move it in any direction that I want. See that? Now I can move it in any direction and then expand. Maybe continue to move the chart in any direction and then say expand. And you can continue to do that just to find the spot where you want to zoom in. Once you've done what I've done here, which is messing the chart, there is a set of overlay buttons that show up when you bring your cursor to the bottom of the chart. Now, I don't see them right here, but as soon as I bring them low enough, there we go. You see those? See, if I remove my cursor from that area, they disappear. So they only appear if you bring your cursor towards the bottom. And you have one, which is the last one on this set, which is a reset scaling. You click it and it resets your chart to the way you started off with, okay? So use that on your charts and give that a try because it'll help you maneuver on the chart. Also, something that I do on my charting, which I know that many new users don't know, is the down arrow key on the keyboard. If I press the down arrow key, notice that I'm compressing the chart and seeing more historical data. And if I do the up arrow key, the opposite, I'm expanding or adding more space in between candles and I can see more detail. So up arrow, down arrow keys on your keyboard are also going to be your best friends. And of course, maneuvering on the chart is going to help you too. All right, so we talked about charting, we talked about scanning. Let's talk a little bit about trading. Not sure if you guys have traded on the matrix before, but the matrix is our one-click order entry tool that you can set up. So it's very efficient when submitting trades. Let me open up the matrix. All right, my font is a little bit excessive. So let me go here to window, font. I'm not sure why it's a 22. Let's make it an 11 and set it as a default. Okay, that way, let me resize my radar screen, my matrix. And I'm going to resize some of these columns so that I can bring in some of the information that is related to this symbol, SGen. CGen. We can trade this if you guys want, and any symbol is good. The matrix can load a stock. It can trade a futures, or it can trade an option. So it's custom. It's compatible with all asset classes. Now I have a few columns here that I really don't need. For example, on my matrix, I don't need the trade size or the trade exchange or the bid or the ask because I'm already seeing that information here. So if you want to modify some of the data fields that are here, go to settings, columns, and then click on quote bar. And here I'm going to remove the trade size, the trade exchange, the bid size, the ask, and the ask size, and then leave everything else. All right, this allows me to bring in more of the columns. This is my closed P&L, my cumulative, my quantity, my account number, and my access increment. Okay, so this is CGen, as we spoke about, currently trading at 202.25 cents. Everybody sees the gray highlight? That's the current trading price. The price that has a small v to the left, everybody sees 202.38. That's the VWAP, calculated value from the beginning of the trading session. And it's important to many traders. It's identified right here with a small v. The blue is where the buyers are. The red is where the sellers are. The number that you see inside the blue, or the numbers that you see inside the red, are orders that are waiting to get filled. And to be more specific, is the actual number of shares that are waiting to get filled. So for example, right here at 202.18, we have 700 shares being bid for at that specific price, 202.18. Now this is a stock that is not cheap. It's $202 per share. So having 700 shares at one level, we're talking about almost a what is it, 120, almost 200, $150,000 of investment. So you can see that a lot of the information here can be used as a market sentiment. How much pressure is that going to put on this security? Of course, on this security, we have total volume. What's the total volume on CGen? I don't see it here. I see, volume on the right-hand side per price. So I know that at 202.18, there's only 400 shares traded at that price. But if you look at, more traded prices like 202.38 seems like it's the price that's been traded the most. 32,000 shares have been traded there. By the way, the shade of color right here on this bar chart just tells you how recent the volume is. So the lighter the color, then the more recent the volume is. And as the volume gets old, then it'll get this, darker tone to it, so that it's the way that we color volume to show you what's new and what's not. Let's see. I see a question here from Marvin. Once I make a chart that I like, is there a way to export it as a JPEG or PNG? Yes, if you have a chart that you like, just click it to activate it and go to File, and then you can save it as a picture from the File menu. And it creates a very nice, I think you have the option here to save it as a JPEG, say active window. I can save as, and it gives you the option to save it as a JPEG or as a bitmap, right? So here you can submit trades. I think I have a few more minutes here in class. I can submit trades for CGen if I wanted to. Let's say, for example, that I wanted to trade 202 even right here. There's already 295 shares being bid for 202 even. If I want to join that group, I just click here. Now, of course, I have to keep an eye on my quantity. Do I want to, submit a buy order for 500 shares? I'm connected to my simulator. I can see the account number here. So let's trade 100 shares. I'm going to come here and then click on the blue, and that's it. That submits my order, and I can see it as a blue box right there under the orders column. Now, there's a confirmation window that is on by default. I've disabled mine on my TradesStation just to show you the one-click order entry functionality that you can use. So for those of you that want that quick response on any order entry tool, of course you can disable confirmations. I always say, if you're getting started, confirmations are good because it allows you to double check your work, make sure you don't have any errors in your order and that the order is exactly what you intend to trade. So do not underestimate, the value of the confirmation window because it is very valuable. But on a one-click order entry tool like the Matrix, it can be set up that way, and it's up to you to do it or not. If I want to change my order, I know that I submitted it at 202 even. If I want to get closer to what it's being traded at the moment, let's say that I want to change my order to 202.20 right up here. I grab my order and I drag it over here to the price that I want, and there it is. Now it's sitting right there, waiting to get filled at 202.20. I also have access or visibility to the selling side. And I know the best selling price is 202.26. That's where the best ask is. So if I click my order and I drop it there, order filled, I'm going to get filled. I'm not sure if you heard my audible confirmation. I forgot to share my sounds on Zoom, so hopefully you heard it, but I got filled. And I see that blue horizontal line letting me know what my fill price was. And over here on the left-hand side, I see real-time P&L. So it's a very graphical type of order entry tool where you see a lot of things going on. You see where the buyers and the sellers are. You see current trading price. You see volume. You see where your orders are. You see P&L. So it's one of the windows that TradesStation clients use the most. Now, it doesn't necessarily have to be the window that you choose to trade from, because as a trading platform, we provide you different order entry tools. So you can trade here on the Matrix. You can trade using the trade bar up here. You can also trade within a chart. So those are things you can do from the TradesStation platform. But if I want to do a stop and a limit here, simple. Now let me go ahead and do something here because let me open up a chart. I traded 100 shares of this symbol, which is priced at 202. So that trade was $20,200, which in real money, on my case, it would have been, impossible. But I'm on a simulator, so I can afford 100 shares of CGen. I have a chart open here. Let me go to settings and account orders and positions because I've turned off what's called account orders and positions. This is trading activity that shows up on the chart. So I'm able to see that position right there on my chart. So if you see that yellow line with a real-time P&L, that's exactly what's happening on this position on CGen. And I can set my profit target and my stop loss. Now, I can click here on the P&L. Like, for example, I can click on this 10, and that sets a selling transaction to sell those 100 shares if the price goes up to 202.36. But that's just $10, $10 profit. If I want to set a $100 profit here, I would have to scroll and scroll and scroll. And the reason for that is because I only have 100 shares. So what I'm looking for is for the price to go from 202 to 203, and 203 may be all the way up there in the matrix. So sometimes what I do, whenever you load up, something that is with a high price like this, is that you look at the chart and see where the target is that you want to set. Maybe here, I want to set a profit target at around here at 205, which is, almost $3 away. And maybe I want to set a stop here at 201, about $1.20 away. If that's the case, maybe the matrix is not the best place where to submit that trade, although something you can do here is play with the axis increment, which does allow you to do what you're talking about. The axis increment just controls the way that the prices are listed inside of the matrix. They are listed at a penny increment. But if I come over here and I change this to 0.05, now the prices are listed in nickels. If I click over here in axis increment and I put in 0.1, now they're listed in 10 cents. So you can do that on your matrix so that the prices are a little bit more accessible. Now I can scroll up and I can see 205 over here, and then I can click on the selling transaction because this is a selling transaction and click here. Now you can see how that selling transaction is exactly at 205. So it makes sense, sometimes to adjust the axis increment if you want to continue using the matrix. Let me go ahead and cancel that order. I can just click on it. If you want to have a profit target and a stop loss at the same time, you have to use what's called an OCO. OCO is an order cancels order, and it's a great type of trade because it's all inclusive. You're pretty much covering yourself depending on the scenario that is going to be played out. Whether it is a profitable scenario or a losing scenario, you are ready for both. So let's go over here in my OCO templates, and I'm going to choose the bracket with one limit and one stop. I click on this ellipsis to specify the distance. I want my limit to be $3. I want my stop to be $1 away. I can do some minor adjustments once they are sent, but this is what I want, the 3-to-1 ratio. I'm going to click OK, and all I need to do is place the OCO order. I can see those orders right here on the chart. $3 away, put my target at 205.27, and $1 below, put my stop at 201.27. Of course, I can make changes to those orders if I want to. Over here, I can submit and rearrange those. So for example, if I want my stop to be at exactly 201, I can just drag it right here, and it changes that stop right here on the chart as well. The same for my target. My target right now, I can drag it to maybe 205 even, and then it submits that order right here on the chart as well. Those lines can also be adjusted here on the chart. I haven't shown you that because I don't want to deviate from the matrix. But if you're interested in dragging those orders directly from the chart, turn on this feature called chart trading. Just click on that button. And notice that it'll open up a trade bar very similar to the one on the matrix. And now with that enabled, I'm able to move these orders anywhere I want. So if I want to push it forward to 206, I can do that right here on the chart. Or maybe bring it lower to 204. Let me click it and drag it over, 204. There we go. Now it gets adjusted here, and it gets adjusted right here on my matrix. So yes, what I encourage you to do is to practice trading on all these order entry tools. Make sure that you are connected to the simulator. The simulator is a great way for you to learn functionality and practice. Once you have a good handle on the order entry functionality, just go over to your live account and then start trading. But just make sure that you're using the simulator for learning purposes. So this is it. This is what I had for you guys today. I hope that you walk away with something that you didn't know before. If you have any questions, this is the time to submit those questions right here in the chat. I'm going to open up the floor for Q&A if you have any questions, okay? This is a question from Arnen, or Amen, I'm sorry. I don't have my glasses on. Can you cover quickly the number of buttons quantity? Are you referring right here in the matrix? Yes, quantity is something that you can set on, on stocks and options. You can set the quantity on number of shares, or if you click on this pound sign, you can also switch to a dollar amount. Nice for you to be able to, if you want to be consistent in the amount of capital you're using on each one of your positions, you can probably set this to a dollar amount, and it'll automatically calculate the number of shares for you. If it's number of shares, every time you use a different quantity here, if that's something another buy transaction, it'll be remembered here. So this gives you a history of all the quantities that you've used in the quantity box. You can also set these yourself. If you right-click inside this box, you can customize quantity selections. And let's say for equities, I want to not use the most recently used. I want to use something custom. And I want the 100 to be visible, the 500 to be visible, the 250 to be visible, 1,000 to be visible, and 1,500 to be visible. If I click OK, then I see all those quantities here, which allow me to very quickly click and adjust the quantity based on what I want. You also have access to this little P on the right-hand side. The P it stands for position. So it tells you how many shares you own on the security that you're trading. On CGen, I know that I have 100 shares. The quantity in the quantity box says 250. But if I click on the P, I know that my matrix will look at what is in my account, and it'll automatically populate the quantity with the shares that I own. I'm going to click on P right now. Keep an eye on this quantity, P, and then it's set to 100 because I know I have 100 shares of CGen. So it's very nice if you don't want to check your account to see how many shares you have. Okay. Yeah. So Aman, to do those pre-configured buttons, you have to right-click inside of here and customize quantity selections. And if you go in there, notice that you have one for equities, another one for futures, and another one for options. So you can customize the quantities depending on the asset class, right? Okay, a question from Ronnie. One contract equals 100 shares in options. Would you select 100 in quantity? No, if you have an option symbol loaded inside of the matrix, make sure that you're using the quantity as number of contracts and not number of shares. If I pull up, for example, let me do a contract here. I can type it in SPX. Come on. SPX, this is an S&P index option. 2306.16 put 4100. So this is an option symbol. It's an S&P option, and you can see how the quantity resets to 1. So this is one contract. We don't do what that one contract represents. We're actually trading contracts. Okay, so keep that in mind. Is there a command that will create a trade order to go flat for all open positions? Like a panic button, right, Marvin? My panic button. Let's go here to my trade manager. I think I have a whole bunch of positions open here. Let me go to my trade manager. Okay, this is my control center for my trading. I go to my positions tab. Yeah, I have a whole bunch of positions open. It actually looks really nice if I were trading, a live account, but here I'm up 38 grand. But if I press the panic button, which is Control F12, now Control F12 may be locked on your computer because we lock those pre-programmed buttons for security and for your own protection. Maybe you don't want to close all your positions, but Control F12 is something that is pre-programmed in TradesStation. And if I press it, notice that a dialog comes up that says, would you like to run the close all positions macro? There is a macro pre-programmed into TradesStation that closes everything under the sun, or at least under your TradesStation accounts. So make sure that you're aware of what this does because it'll close everything. So if I say yes, it flats me out. Notice that my positions are all flat now. I have no quantity, and my open P&L is 0. If I look at the bottom, I just realized all those $38,000 were added here to my P&L. All right. So yes, Control F12. If it says that your macros are locked, you can go here. I think it'll give you the option to unlock them right on the dialog. So that's what's available on TradesStation. All right. Anything else? Do we have any other questions? Saving templates for OCO, please. When you go to the OCO menu right here on this dropdown, these are all the templates that are available. So we have some entries and we have some variations of exits. If you don't see what you're looking for, if you want to create a different template than the ones that are available, you're going to have to create a custom order. I did a class recently. I'm not sure if Manolo, you have the class handy on custom OCOs, OSOs that Manolo's going to share with everyone here, where you can create all sorts of different, multi-order setups. But that is accessible from the trade bar, OCO, OSO, and custom OCOs. That's the way that you create that you can, really become creative in terms of, setting up your trades. All right. Ronnie's asking, I don't understand what linking global and matrix versus local does. The linking, let me go here to my matrix. Yeah, here's my matrix. When I go to the drop down here for the linking, I'm going to see some local links and I'm going to see some global links. The local link works within the workspace. So let me set them to local first. So green and green. Okay, so this is a symbol local link. So if I change the symbol here to GE, General Electric, it'll match my chart. Yep, and it'll match my matrix and any other application inside of this single workspace. But if I want this change to be applied on different workspaces, I have to choose a global link. So I'm going to set these to global, both of them. So global. I'm going to go to different workspaces here, not the trade manager one, but here. Let's set this to a global. Okay, I'm going to come over here to this one. I'm going to set this to global. So I'm looking at different workspaces and setting them up to a global link. If I change the symbol here on this globally linked chart, let's see that it's a symbol we haven't used before. Let's say that I want to set this to the futures ESM23. That's a futures contract, S&P E-mini, expires in June 2023. It loads right here, but now if I check my other windows, it's loaded right there. It's loaded right there. And it's loaded right here in the matrix, and it's loaded right here. So the global link just makes that link work across multiple workspaces and across multiple desktops. That's the difference between global and local. So hopefully that clarifies it. And that's my link on the custom. It's not this one, Manolo. It's the one that I did recently. I'm not sure if it's ready for viewing. Maybe that's the thing. It's the one that I did on Monday, and we probably don't have a link for that yet. It's probably in compliance as we speak, but it's the one that I talk about multi-order setups using in one trade. I think that's the title of the presentation. If you find it, it's fine. If it's not ready, then we'll just have to wait until it's ready. All right. All right. So I think that's it. So thank you guys for joining me today. Thank you for being here. Let's see. Is it possible you can click compliance and send it to? Okay. Yes. Manolo will send it over. Oh, here's the link so everybody can see it. So thank you guys. You can use education@tradestation.com, the email address. If you have any follow-up questions that you want to send us, thank you for joining us today. And remember that every Wednesday, we have this getting started class, and then we open up the floor for Q&A. So you can always join us if you have something that needs a little bit more clarity, okay? Have a great and wonderful afternoon, and I'll see you next class. Goodbye, everyone. Nice talking to you.